So last night, Nikola Jokic was named the 2024 NBA MVP, making this his third MVP in the last 4 seasons, and Shaq had this to say about it.
I don't like to rain on people's parade, but I'm not happy with this one. Congratulations to Joker, you are the best big man in the league, but based on everybody's criteria, my criteria, stat stuffer, you guys' criteria, number one seed, which team has a better record, I felt Shai Alexander deserved it because I've been number two a lot. When I played my ass off, number two. So the fact that he has to start all over next year and try to win it again, I think it was. I know it's going to be hurtful for him. Hopefully he uses this to motivate him to win a championship. But I thought, and again, no disrespect to the Joker, best big man in the league by far. You could have went this way, but I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Joker, I want you to hear from me first. I thought the SGA should have been the MVP. That's no disrespect to you.
Stephen A. doubled down on this sentiment on First Take the next day when he said this.
S.A., what do you think? Should Jokic have won his third most valuable player award?
No, I don't feel that way. I have a vote. He did not get my vote. My vote went to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think should have been the worthy recipient of this award.
Now, I want to start by saying I personally don't have a dog in this fight. I think that Luka should have won MVP, but it's starting to look like he's never going to win one no matter what he does, but that's a story for a different day. So let's focus on Jokic and Shai. First off, I think it was completely out of pocket that Shaq told Jokic during his interview that he felt like Shai deserved the award. Whether you feel like that's true or not, whether that is actually true or not, you're in the moment of congratulating him and presenting him with winning the award. To tell him in the midst of that someone else deserved the award is kind of wild. Like, if I was Jokic, I really would have just hung up the call, whatever. You're just mad I got more than you for real. But let's not get into that. Let's focus on what he actually said, the substance of what he said. He felt like Shai deserved to be the NBA MVP this year, and I've heard a lot of people express that. Now, Shaq is one of the greatest basketball players of all time, 4-time champion, former MVP himself. Stephen A. Smith has been covering the NBA for over 25 years, an amazing NBA journalist that I hope to be one day, so it's kind of hard to argue with these two, but yeah, I'm gonna do it anyway. So I personally, again, like I said, I felt like Luka deserved the MVP, but I'm not mad at Jokic winning it at all. In fact, I feel like I don't completely understand why people think that Shai deserved it over him. Now, first, I'm going to go over the numbers, and then I'm going to talk about some of the arguments I've heard on the behalf of Shai. So this NBA season, Nikola Jokic averaged 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists, played 79 games. Shai averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, and played 75 games. So pretty comparable in the amount of games played, identical records. The Oklahoma City Thunder had the tiebreaker, so they finished as the 1 seed. Denver finished as the 2 seed, but again, the exact same record. So one of the first arguments that I've heard about Shai is that the reason he deserved MVP because he led the youngest team ever to the number 1 seed in the West. And that's true. The youngest team ever, I think an average age of, I want to say 22, and he led them to the number 1 seed. But the thing that stands out to me about that is that I feel like it's kind of weird to give Shai credit for the age of the team. You know what I'm saying? Now, no question, he's the best player, and they probably look to him, but I don't really see Shai as that vocal leader of the team. I feel like the coach is the leader of that team, and he makes sure that everyone fits their specific play styles and fits around Shai. Shai's obviously the best player, and you could argue maybe he leads by example, but he's not like the leader of the team like the way we've seen Chris Paul in the past, LeBron in the past, Draymond of the Warriors. Like, he's not that vocal leader that galvanizes the troops game in and game out. Like, he's just the best player on a young team. So, that argument is kind of strange to me. It's an accomplishment for sure that they are a young team that won the 1 seed, but it's kind of like if J-Dub and there's 2 Jalen Williams. If J-Dub and Isaiah Joe or Chet Holmgren were both 27, would you say that now Shai doesn't deserve the MVP? Does that make the complete argument go away? You know what I mean? You're giving him credit for the other players' age. I get it. They're a young team and it's impressive that they're good, but I feel like that isn't all because of Shai. Each young player has stepped up and showed poised at a young age on the team. In that same breath, a lot of people are like, well, the Oklahoma City were the 9th seed last year, missed the playoffs, and this year they were the number 1 seed. That's all because of Shai leading a young team. And I'm like, Well, in that same breath, is it possible that because Chet didn't play last year, and this year he played and had a almost Rookie of the Year season if it wasn't for Wemby, and that's why they went to the 1 seed? Not saying that Chet is better than Shea, but I'm just saying Shea averaged 30 points last season, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you're giving him all the credit just for them being young. Like, was he not the leader of the team last season? Was he not leading a young team last season? Why didn't they go anywhere last season? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, you can't just give Shea automatically 100% credit for the fact that the team is young and successful. You know what I'm saying? It's an NBA MVP award. It's about your individual performance. So let's focus on Shea's individual performance. 30 points per game, 2 assists, or 2 steals per game. The steals leader, actually, this year. I think there's only been 3 players ever to do that. Michael Jordan, AI, and Kobe. Maybe James Harden did it. Someone fact check me on that in the comments. But I know for sure Jordan, Kobe, and Allen Iverson averaged 30 points per game and had 2 steals, and Shea was the next one to do that. So elite company, no question. Super, super elite company to be in. I just think that when we look at it, is that enough to just put yourself as head and shoulders better? Because let's talk about value. Let's talk about value to your team. He's led his team in scoring, led his team in steals, obviously. But I think it was J-Dub who led the team in assists. It was Chet who led the team in rebounds. Nikola Jokic led his team in points, rebounds, and assists. You know, the big 3 categories. Now, obviously, Jokic is kind of, I wouldn't say a defensive liability, but he is not a great defender at all. He's not a great defender. I'll give you that. But he's done enough to make the Denver Nuggets competitive year in and year out, game in and game out. So I don't think that that's just like, Chet isn't this like elite lockdown defender in which the gap is so wide defensively. Like, yeah, he's the steals leader, but kind of in that same token, the way I believe James Harden and Allen Iverson were the steals leader, they weren't great defenders either. They weren't the defenders Kobe and Jordan were, for example. Being a steals leader kind of just means sometimes that you're good at playing the passing lanes, which you have good instincts, good anticipation, which is good. It does make you good on defense, but you're not just like, Shea's not about to make all NBA second team. You know what I mean? Like, you're not a lockdown defender. So with that being said, I feel like I don't see how Shea just played so much better in people's mind that Jokic just robbed him of this award. Like, Jokic averaged more rebounds. He averaged more assists. As a big man, he averaged more assists than Shea, a point guard. You know what I mean? Shot better from the field. Again, you could argue that's because he's a big man, but it's not like Jokic doesn't shoot threes either. He actually shot a better percentage from 3 than Shea. And don't give me attempts, because they take around the same amount of attempts a game, which is kind of strange when you think about it. Shea's more of like a mid-range specialist, but they shoot both about 2-3 a game. So don't even give me attempts. They shoot around the same 3-point percentage. Jokic shoots better from the field, more rebounds, more assists. Shea averaged more points. I'll give you that. Shea averaged more points. But I think that's just because Jokic also has to like initiate the offense for other people. Jamal Murray's going to score some buckets. MPJ is going to score some buckets. Jokic actually like runs his team. Now, as far as like overall value, I will say that this is probably a good argument for Shea, is that if you take Shea off of the Thunder and you take Jokic off of Denver, Denver is probably still a better team than Oklahoma City. So if you want to look at it from that lens, I will say maybe Shea has more of a case to be MVP than Jokic, because I do think that the Thunder without Shea are a worse team than the Nuggets without Jokic, because the Nuggets would still have Jamal Murray, MPJ can still score, Aaron Gordon's a good player, you know, stuff like that. But I don't think that that's like really the issue of the award. I think it's how much value you provide to your team in their overall success. And I feel like having Jokic on your team automatically makes the Nuggets a championship contender. I feel like that same argument can't be made for Shea. And that's why I would say that I feel like Jokic kind of deserves the MVP. And I also want to point this out, because I feel like the real issue here isn't that Jokic stole it from Shea, like he didn't deserve it. Like, let's be for real. Regardless of who you feel like maybe should have won it, Jokic still had an amazing season. 26, 12, and 9, almost a triple-double, almost averaging 10 assists as a center. He had an amazing season. Like, there's no way to doubt that. I think really what the issue is for a lot of people is that Jokic seems to be getting special treatment that other players in the past haven't got. Like, let's look at it like this. Jokic has won his 3rd MVP, and he now is one of 9 players in NBA history to win at least 3 MVPs. I'm actually going to run through the names for you right quick. Kareem has 6. Mike has 5. LeBron has 4. Wilt has 4. Jokic, Magic, Larry, and Moses Malone all have 3, right? So I think, first and foremost, I think it bothers certain people that Jokic is now in this company with these elite group of players, and he seemingly seems unappreciative of it. Like, we've seen Jokic, talk about his horses, talk about, basketballs just to get, like, he seems so nonchalant about the sport of basketball. And I think we're so used to seeing Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, some of the all-time greats, some of the all-time fan favorites. We're used to seeing them, like, leave it all on the court, blood, sweat, and tears, and show how much passion and drive they have for the game. And deep down, Jokic may have that, but on the surface, he doesn't show that at all. I think that, in a way, bothers people, that he's able to just keep racking up these awards in a nonchalant way when we're used to seeing the best player or the MVP of the league just in general exude more like emotion when it comes to the game. So I think, 1, that bothers people. 2, it bothers people on the overall criteria of how he wins the MVP. Like, for a long time, the MVP used to be the best player on the best team. Like, whoever had the best record, the best player on that team would win MVP. Like, or whoever scored the most points, like whoever averaged a higher amount of points between the MVP candidates would usually win MVP. I think Jokic wins MVP without following any of those, like, criterias we're used to over at least the past 2 decades. We're used to, like, the scoring leader kind of winning MVP, the best player on the best team winning MVP. You know what I mean? Maybe the most popular player in the league winning MVP. Like, we're used to seeing that, like, routinely, and I feel like Jokic doesn't really check any of those boxes. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at, for the example of the year that Russell Westbrook won MVP, he averaged a triple-double. Jokic almost averaged a triple-double this year, and he won MVP, but Russell averaged a triple-double 3 more times and didn't win MVP any of those seasons. You could argue his numbers were better in those seasons than Jokic was in this season, but the difference there being that Jokic's team overall has a better record, so I do think that's not exactly an apples-to-apples comparison, but it's along that line of thinking of people have put up extraordinary stats, James Harden in the past, and not gotten MVP over someone else who may have not put up as great stats, the way Shea hasn't put up as great stats as Jokic, but their team had a better record. So the fact that OKC finished number 1, even though they had an identical record to Denver, I feel like people felt like he averaged more points. They were the number 1 seed. That is, like, automatic. That's how it's supposed to be, because historically that it has kind of followed that trend, and I think that bothers people. It rubs people the wrong way that it doesn't continue like that in the case of Jokic. Don't get me wrong, I think Shea had a great season, 30 points per game, 2 steals as the steals leader. It can't be denied. I think he had an excellent season, but I think truthfully it's the fact that Jokic has won MVP 2 times already, this being his 3rd now, stepping into that elite company, I feel like is why people are pushing so much for someone else to win it, and Shea just happened to be that someone else. I don't feel like Shea had a head and shoulders better season than Jokic. I feel like, if anything, it was a toss-up, and maybe they could have given it to Shea because Jokic has already won it twice. But truthfully, if you look at the numbers, you look at the win shares, you look at, like, who, even by eye test, who is more dominant night in and night out, I feel like the answer to all of these are Jokic. So this idea that Shea got robbed, I don't really subscribe to it. Like, was Shea a worthy MVP? Like, could he have won it? Sure. If Shea would have won it, I wouldn't be sitting here angry at all. But I think it's this narrative that he just deserved it so much more than Jokic, and Jokic, like, unfairly got it due to some media bias or something. I just feel like isn't true. I feel like really what it is that people don't like to see someone of Jokic's ilk, someone who plays the way he does. It's not very exciting. Someone who treats the game like nonchalant, kind of like it's a hobby or something, not a true passion. I think these reasons are why people kind of wanted to see someone else win it, not just because Shea's season was just so much better. But y'all let me know what you think. Did you think that Jokic deserved it? Did you think Shea deserved it? Are you like me? You think Luka deserved it? Do you feel like the NBA is just trying to make Jokic the face of the league and they're just padding on his stats? Y'all go to the comments, let me know. Thanks for watching. It's your boy Zoe. This is The Last Word, and we're out of here.